Good morning, class. For today's lesson, we will talk about teaching learning processes and curriculum development. One of the most repeated definitions of a curriculum is that curriculum is the total learning experiences. This is what we have discussed on our first lesson. One of the experts in education defined curriculum as a total learning experiences. This description implies that the main concern of a curriculum is the different planned and unplanned activities which have been lived, acted upon, or done by the learners with the guidance of the teacher. Hence, in curriculum development, the teaching and learning are actions necessary to accomplish a goal in education. Now, what is the role of teaching in curriculum development? On the other hand, what is learning in curriculum development? This lesson will focus on the teaching and learning processes as significant components of the curriculum. Both processes provide experiences which will accomplish the goals of education. Now, for the learning outcomes, number one, analyze the concept of teaching and learning as a process in curriculum. Number two, discussed the two principal types of learning theories. And number three, shared learning experiences acquired in school. First, let us talk about teaching as a process in curriculum. Good teaching is difficult to agree upon. While it remains to be difficult to agree on what good teaching is, effective teaching can be demonstrated. Effective teaching is one that will bring about the intended learning outcomes. Because of the changing paradigms of teaching, several definitions have evolved based on the theories of teaching and learning that have come about. Some view teaching as an organization of meaningful learning. It is creating a situation or selecting lifelike situations to enhance learning. To the traditionalists, teaching is a process of imparting knowledge and skills required to master a subject matter. It is a process of dispensing knowledge to an empty vessel, which is the mind of the learner. Or it is showing, telling, giving instruction, making someone understand in order to learn. In this instance, the person who teaches controls learning. In this person is a teacher. So, we define teacher as a dispenser of knowledge, an ultimate authority, and a director of learning. On the other hand, as progressive and humanist education advanced, the meaning of teaching broadened to fit the psychological meaning of the term. Teaching is now perceived as stimulating, directing, guiding the learner, and evaluating the learning outcomes of teaching. The teacher's role in teaching becomes complex, but has given the learner the responsibility to learn. Teaching, then, is a process that enables the learner to learn on his or her own. Let us look at the teaching process as a series of actions from planning, implementing, and evaluating. It looks similar to curriculum development. Definitely it is, because the process of teaching replicates the process of curriculum development. In teaching, the planning phase includes decision about the needs of the learners, the achievable goals and objectives to meet the needs, the selection of the content to be taught, the motivation to carry out the goals, the strategies most fit to carry out the goals, and the evaluation process to measure learning outcomes. Teaching plans may be short-term, like the daily lesson plan, or long-term plan, like the unit plan or a yearly plan. Now, in a plan, consideration should include the learners, availability of materials, time requirements of particular activities, the strategies needed to teach the lesson, and definitely the teacher. The planning phase recognizes the intent that it will be the learners who will learn. Hence, the next phase will engage more the learner. Next is the implementation phase. This phase requires the teachers to implement what has been planned. Based on the objectives, implementation means to put into action the different activities in order to achieve the objectives through the subject matter. Here, two important players are involved, the teacher and the learner. Their interaction is important in the accomplishment of the plan. Most often, the planning phase directs what will be done in the activity. The use of the different teaching styles and strategies should be included in the implementation phase. The third one is the evaluation phase. In this process, a match of the objectives with the learning outcomes will be made. The kind of information should be determined so that the type of evaluation should be chosen to fit the purpose. Simply, the evaluation phase will answer the question if the plans and implementation have been successfully achieved. In all the three phases of teaching, a continuous process of feedback and reflection is made. To give a feedback is to give information as to whether the three phases were appropriately done and gave good results. To further clarify what teaching is all about, there are some indicators which you can use to guide in the process of good teaching. First, good teaching is one that is well planned and where activities are interrelated to each other. Second, good teaching is one that provides learning experiences or situations that will ensure understanding, application, and critical thinking. Third, good teaching is based on the theories of learning. Fourth, good teaching is one where the learners is stimulated to think and reason. Fifth, good teaching utilizes prior learning and its application to new situations. Sixth, good teaching is governed by democratic principles. And lastly, good teaching embeds a sound evaluation process. Now, let us discuss learning as a process in curriculum. To teach is to make someone to learn. This statement means that the end product of teaching is learning. Now, what is learning? So, we defined learning as a change in an individual's behavior caused by experiences or self-activity. It simply implies that learning can only happen through the individual's activity or his or her own doing. Now, most learning is intentional, like when a learner acquires knowledge in the classroom or when one observes a demonstration activity. On the other hand, learning sometimes is unintentional, like when a child touches a lighted candle and feels it is hot. In the illustration, you see how important engaging our students in the classroom activities. At least they are given the chance to discover and to explore things. And then allow them to explain what they discover what they have learned, what they have explored. And at the end of the day, encourage them to apply the learnings or what they have learned inside the classroom. Encourage them to apply the learnings to their own lives at home. Now, broadly speaking, there are two principal types of learning theories to explain how individuals learn according to educational psychologists. One, behavioral learning theories. These emphasize observable behavior, such as new skills, knowledge, or attitudes which can be demonstrated. These forms of behavior are observable and measurable. According to this group of theories, if the individual has changed behavior, he has learned. So these theories were according to Ivan Pavlov's of classical conditioning, Edward Thorndike's laws of learning, and B.F. Skinner's operant conditioning. These forms of behavior are observable and measurable, the behavioral learning theories. The next theory is about cognitive learning theories. These are concerned with human learning in which unobservable mental processes are used to learn and remember new information or acquire skills. So there are learnings acquired using our critical thinking, using our mind, using our brain. And those are unobservable mental processes. Some general statements which describe learning based on the theories of learning may include the following. First, learning does not take place in an empty vessel. Each learner is assumed to have prior learning and may be able to connect this to present learning. Second, learning is a social process where interactions with other learners and the teacher are needed. Third, learning is a result of individual experiences and self-activity. Fourth, learning is both observable and measurable. Fifth, learning takes place when all the senses are utilized. Sixth, learning will be enhanced when the learner is stimulated, directed, guided, and feedback is immediately given. Lastly, each learner has his own learning styles. Teaching and learning go together. How does teaching and learning connect to each other? One process cannot succeed without the success or support of the other. A teacher cannot claim he has taught if the learners have not learned substantially. The teaching styles of the teacher should jibe with the learners' learning styles. Unless the two are fit, the teachers and learners will be existing in two different worlds. Teaching as a process cannot be taken independently. With so many ingredients needed, the most important is still the learner. The learner being in the center of the teaching will influence to a great extent of teaching. It is therefore important that the knowledge of the learner and his learning styles be considered. With the advancement of information about the uniqueness of each learner, the multiple intelligences theory, and many more, teaching has to consider more factors in order to be effective. In many cases, it has been observed that teaching is the cause and learning the effect. Learning outcomes can indicate teaching performance. The quality of teaching is related to the quality of learning. That is very important to remember. If the students fail to learn, the greater factor is the failure in teaching. We always attribute the kind of learning to the kind of teaching. It has now become a fallacy that some learners are non-teachable. If our theories of learning and development are strong, then all individuals are teachable. Therefore, they are capable of learning. Now the question is now raised. How can you make someone learn something? How can you, a teacher, make someone, the learner, learn something? That is a challenge. As the direct relationships of teaching and learning become clear, success of both brings out something like learning and teaching for learning. This means that while the teacher teaches, he also learns in the process. On the other hand, as the students learn, they are also teaching themselves to learn. Teaching and learning give life and meaning to the curriculum. Each complement and supplement each other. The value placed in teaching will reap the same value in learning. So, a good curriculum can be judged by the kind of teaching and the quality of learning derived from it. So that is the end of our lesson. I hope everyone will be able to reflect after reading the content and hope to see you soon, face to face. Thank you. Good afternoon.